Hi, this is Jason here, and it's been a while since my last video. I've been really busy a lot lately, and I promise that I will upload this video today. So, for today's video, I'll be talking about my university experience. So currently I'm in my second year studying media and communication, and I spent about, let's just say, 6 months in the first year in the UK. So about that time, maybe 2 to 3 years ago, is when I started to think more about my higher education. So I want to share my experience when studying abroad. But for my second year, I returned to study remotely due to the pandemic. For this video, I'll split this video in various parts where I'll discuss on various topics relating to my university experience. So without further ado, let's begin this topic. Over the UK, I noticed a lot of cultural differences. Very much different to my cultural practice. So lots of East versus West type of thing. And the taste is very different too. So for example, I noticed a lot of British people swearing. So very colorful language there. And I had to walk a lot because of the transportation. It's very different, the transportation, compared to the MTR. So people there can talk really fast. Sometimes it's very hard to understand the British accent. In terms of food, I eat a lot of rice. In the West, rice is not typically a meal as it is in the East. In Hong Kong, the climate too is very warm, whereas in the UK, the climate is more cooler. So I really love the cold. But the UK doesn't have AC, whilst Hong Kong does. So I don't often experience summer in the UK. I only experienced it once, like a couple years ago prior to university. But I can imagine it be very hot and lots of AC fans there out. And the weather likes to rain a lot too. So umbrellas very useful. Indeed, this is a very Class is a little bit different to secondary school, definitely, in many ways. So for my course at least, you have to engage with the weekly readings, and there's essays which is usually due at the end of the semester. So it's a bit stressful, especially with reading, because it's an academic text and I'm not really a bookworm type of person. So you have to engage with the weekly readings, which is important because you need to learn the information to understand the week's topic, and it's sometimes brought up in the seminars. I have 3 to 4 modules to juggle between each semester, and each module asks for at least 1 to 2 key readings, which I try to find time to look for the key information when reading. So one of the key things to look out for really is to see what exactly the author of the reading is arguing about, because then it'll be better to understand what the reading is all about. In my opinion, really, I think the readings in year 2 is better than year 1, because in year 1 there's like 2 to 4 readings, whilst in year 2 there's less readings. So I don't know what will be installed for year 3 though. For essays, you must use academic text and readings, so you gotta use the library system to find your own references to use for your assignments, and referencing is also important. To me, I kind of got along with it, so it's not really a huge issue for me. My advice when it comes to the essay is to use the less is more approach. What I mean by that is that don't use too much examples, since there's a word limit. Instead, provide less examples. At the same time, talk about these examples more. It demonstrates the depth of knowledge, and you're probably likely to get a better mark. I also use this approach, the PEE, Point Evidence Explanation, so which can be very useful when it comes to essays. There's also a thing called reading week, which is heaven, because this happens in the middle of the semester and you have no class and can take a week off break or do whatever. Maybe the lecturer can suggest an activity to do. There was also a strike amongst lecturer that kind of impacted class, since class was cancelled at several times. It was more impactful in semester 2 because there was a strike for 14 days that was spread out across February and March. So during then, I spent some time on my assignment, and the term ended early because of the pandemic, and all of year 1 assignments are made formative, so... But anyways, year 1 don't count up to your degrees, so yeah. So I was living in student halls for the first year, and I say the living conditions not bad. The rooms are pretty big, and you get to meet some people, also known as the people living with you, your flatmates. So a lot of my flatmates are Asian students. No problem with that, just to point out. Like, I noticed a lot of local students like to live further away from campus in the village area, and it's like you have to take a bus to campus. But I think it's a bit exhausting, and it's more convenient to walk 5 minutes to campus in the city area. And also between classes, when I have 2 to 3 hour break, I like to come back to my place and then chill a bit and then go out later. So I live in a shared kitchen, so it's not an ensuite like some rich people. So you get your own space in the fridge, and the fire works very slow. When taking a bath, the shower also runs very slowly. So and the toilet's a bit weak. Luckily my room's just across the toilet, so before and after showering, I just sit through without getting spotted too much. So when there's mail, all mails go to the reception and you get an email saying you have mail. I kind of wish there's a mailbox for students because like imagine if you got mail that nobody wants to see, you don't want people to see. That'd be a bit embarrassing. It's allowed to every Monday because there's a practice fire drill, and also cleaners come and they can be very chatty. In terms of the laundry, you got to pay for more money to both wash these and dry them. Very different to Hong Kong because you don't need to dry your clothes with a machine. You can just put them all out to dry for itself. I don't really like the management. I think it's a bit annoying. The contract is not as flexible as they claim to be. They only have a semester 1 and or 2 contract, no terms. So once they said they do a weekly contract, I contacted them to ask about it and they say you get charged full price regardless, even if you plan on leaving early. And I just think, what exactly is the difference between weekly and the other contracts when there's no cheaper options there? I also think many people want to live in student halls because they don't have to pay too much money for private housing since bills are also included. And I think accommodation people should make their contracts more flexible. I get it's all procedure, but it's not really welcoming to students to have contracts being a stubborn brick wall. And also if you book the same room for the following year, regardless, you have to box up your stuff so they won't store it for you. And you have to use a third-party storage company, which costs more and it's a bit annoying. Some of my stuff is somewhere in London though, so it's been more than a year and I'm afraid to see what happened when I open the box again. Now, since I'm in Hong Kong, I've been studying remotely from the UK, so I've been having online classes all the way. My experience with online classes is very different to how I thought it to be. I thought everyone would have their cameras on, but nobody would have their camera on, except for the lecturers sometimes. But I don't want to turn on my camera because no one does. And I feel like I'd be thrown under the bus if I'm the only one who turns on the camera. So lately in class, it's been full of typing and chat box use, like some typing school. Luckily, lectures for me are pre-recorded, which is something majority of people in my course liked because I can work through the slides and content at my own time. The only thing that's synchronous is the seminars and workshops. And there's a time difference. So a few of my classes are 9 AM UK time. So this means it's 7 to 8 hours ahead in Hong Kong. And it's a 4 to 5 PM class, which I like. Well, in extreme cases, there's classes at midnight because UK time is 4 to 5 PM. And my nights are typically like a bokudaken or secret time. The platforms my class uses is between Blackboard Collaborate and Microsoft Teams. So the university could have invested in Google instead of Microsoft. But I actually find Teams works better because the Wi-Fi works well and the chats are all persistent. So if you go in and out of the session for Wi-Fi issues, chat messages are still there, whereas in Collaborate, it's all gone. I think it's a bit rude how people can be too passive in class. Like whenever we go to breakout rooms, there's always this one person, sometimes everyone, that just don't speak or type. It just seems a bit wrong how people are throwing thousands of pounds, if not more, into the ocean to just be passive in class. Kind of bugs me out a bit. There's one time this lecturer asked this person to speak and this person flat out ignored. Just no response. 其實佢哋嚟有咩意思？呢個佢哋唔參加呢啲堂。Though there are several moments in online classes where it's awkward in different ways. Like sometimes when you get a task in the breakout room, the lecturer gives you too much time. Then we spend about more than 10 minutes in the room. There's also times in the breakout room where there's overlapping discussions. So it's especially awkward for me because when I want to say something, people also start to say something. And everyone just pauses and you're like, what? So overall, I do like online classes because I feel like I'm actually participating in the lectures, get to know your name in online class. Since your name is displayed. And I feel more active in participating in online classes than face-to-face classes. This is a bit of a complicated story at first. So I used Lloyds Bank in the UK. So in Hong Kong I have a HSBC savings account. So when I first arrived to the UK, the plan was to set up a bank account, then pay my tuition fees. But the bank says that they must require a letter from the school in order to open a bank account. And the university says that you must be a registered student to give out those letters. So this means paying out the fees first. So there's a bit of a loop. And then the student service department was like, sorry, I can't help you. So essentially my parents pay for the fee and I get the letter and open the bank account. So really tedious at that starting process. It's also a bit weird because when applying schools, I applied for UCAS. If anyone doesn't know, it's a centralized system when applying to universities in the UK. So in UCAS, there's a bank number which makes it easier to open a bank account. But when opening a student bank account, they don't actually ask for the numbers. So these 4 to 6 digits in UCAS is literally pointless in my case. In terms of other aspects of money, I can be very conservative. So I keep a notebook of all my spendings and my week, excluding online payments though. But the supermarkets in it's cheaper in the UK, but the restaurants there is very expensive, whereas in Hong Kong it's like the other way around. Going to restaurants is a very rare occasion for me since it's so expensive, so I just buy and make my own food. And I'm not the type of person that likes to go clubbing, so no thank you to clubbing. Since, you know, I'm not a really social person, and going to bars is just so not me. So in Hong Kong we have octopus cards, where like you go around and it's like convenient payment. But in the UK, you gotta tell the bus driver exactly where you want to go, and you have to pay the money up front. It took a bit of time when applying for a Tier 4 visa, so I would suggest to don't waste any time on it and immediately start applying. A lot of costs is involved because you gotta pay like £475 a year for this health surcharge, which is very different to the visa fees and is somehow mandatory. So like, I paid an extra $1,000 in Hong Kong dollars to make this visa process faster. Since I applied in April and made an appointment in the visa takes weeks, with the fast pass, processing the visa takes 1 to 2 weeks. So without the fast pass, it takes a bit longer. Probably because at that time there's other people also applying for visa. So you gotta provide a lot of documents like your birth certificate, address of both UK and Hong Kong, a tuberculosis test certificate, and other relevant documents too. It's honestly a bit of a long process, and the website too. And in the visa center, they take a photo of you and take your fingerprints, and then can be used to make a biometric permit residence card, which is basically an ID card for migrants. Is there anything else to talk about? I don't think there's any much to talk about at the moment. So that's it for this video. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and please give a like and subscribe to this video, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. So bye!